Welcome aboard for another adventure on live streaming. I'm Terry Brock, and I'm joined, as you can see, by the lovely and charming Gina Carr from Video Rockstars. Gina, nice to have you with us today.
Well, great to be here, Terry. Thanks.
Yeah, and of course, you and I are both working with video rock stars and agorapreneurs, but talking about ways that people can develop their entrepreneurial life the way they want and be able to get the kind of lifestyle that gives them freedom and liberty to get ahead. And one of the ways we're doing that is this week. You and I are attending Podfest Global, talking about podcasting and video casting and things like that. Tell us a little bit about the big picture of what that is and what your impression has been of it so far.
Well, we're attending and we're sponsoring and we're speaking at it. So it's been a fantastic experience. Chris Krimitsos does such a fantastic job of bringing in speakers from all over the world to talk about things that are important to people who are trying to get their message out around the world, mainly through the vehicle of podcasting, although there's been a real increased emphasis on video casting, vidcasting, or podtubing, as they call it. So that's a big part of the appeal for me and why we've decided to take a much more active role because of Video Rockstars. So it's been really wonderful. I've gotten a lot of great tips. I know you probably have too, and I'd love to hear some of those.
Yeah, well, a lot of good things going on. As a matter of fact, we see several people are joining us already. One thing I like about using Restream, which is what we're using right now, using Restream.io, and I can see the number of people that are joining us on various platforms. By saying various platforms, I mean we're going out to Facebook and a couple of different groups. We're going over to LinkedIn, we're going to Twitter, and we're going to YouTube, all at the same time. And like I often like to say, and that means simultaneously too. So at the same time and simultaneously, we're doing it. But I was thinking what we might do is, given that we're here on this, we can talk about some of the things that are happening. But before we do that, we got a comment here from Jana Stanfield. So thanks you too for being our guide to good things in video and podcasting. Well, Jana, we appreciate you being around and being here for us and all that you do too. I'm going to put in a shameless plug here for what she does with the Refugee Video School, helping people to get jobs, but also helping you as a producer and content creator to get your editing done, to get other tasks done by some really good people who know what they're doing, and she can help on that. If you look up Jana Stanfield, I'm going to leave that up there for just a moment so you can see how to spell that, Jana Stanfield. You can get in touch with her and be able to see some good things happening there. And also looks like we have Don is coming in right now. Got Don coming in, another person joining us here, Don Akers. Great to see you at Podfest Global. Really high quality content and a great community. Thanks for the connect. You bet, Don. Down in Houston, and a good buddy of ours as well. But we appreciate all of you being here. And nice that we're using Restream here. We're using just Restream itself right now. And it lets me see something I didn't know. I can see the number of people that are coming in on the various channels that we have. So that's a good indication of what's working and what isn't. And by the way, it's letting me see, it makes a lot of sense what's going on there. But anyway, Gina, what we want to do is talk about some of the things that are happening at Podfest so far. And I wanted to share a couple of things here. Yesterday, I had a great idea that I got from Anya Rosita, who I know also from the work I'm doing. They're a sponsor here and working at Restream. And she talked about something that I kind of opposed before, but now I go, wait a minute, I think this has changed. It really looks good. She mentioned the idea of talking about live streaming versus doing recordings. And I had always thought, well, I like the recordings more. I still like live stream. Those are good. But doing a recording, you've got a chance to play it faster. You've got a chance to correct if you're producing it. If you make a mistake, you can stop it, go back and change it, or edit it in post, things like that. But with live stream, you've got that energy and the excitement. Yeah, there is a challenge if you make an whoops or there's a blooper or something. Yeah, you got to live with it. It's going out to the world. But you've got the energy of people coming on, just like we saw Jana Stanfield and Don Akers here. They're on screen. Gina, I'd be interested in your thoughts on that and what your thoughts are on live versus recorded.
Well, I've always strongly preferred live versus recorded. With recorded, I find that I am too critical of myself. I record it and then I'm not happy with it, so I don't ever put it out into the world. That's happened to me on a number of occasions. And with the live, it's out there, and it was key to me getting over my concerns and my trepidations about creating video. And if it hadn't been for the live format, I would probably still not be doing much video at all, because I was just too critical of myself with the editing and with the recorded version.
I think you raise a very good point that a lot of people can relate to. We tend to be a little more critical of ourselves. I often joke that I say watching yourself on video is really important. We all need to do that, and I strongly recommend it. But I also realize it is really painful. It is one of the most painful things, even condemned by the Geneva War Convention. They condemn watching yourself on video. It is that painful. I'm making this up. But the thing is, it is painful. But we learn a lot that way. And so, Gina, you have helped me. I'll say this in front of the whole world. You have helped me on that to learn how to do it, and going through Video Rockstars has helped. As a matter of fact, we have another comment here from Jana saying being a member of Video Rockstars keeps us on the cutting edge. You two are the cutting edge simplified. Well, thank you very much for that, Jana. You're very kind to say that. But we like our Video Rockstars. And Gina, since some people might be interested in Video Rockstars, tell us quickly what it is and how they could find out more about it.
Well, Video Rockstars, it's a community of people that are helping each other create, amplify, and monetize videos, primarily through education-based videos that lead to online courses and membership programs. So we're working with folks on their video production skills, video creation skills, as well as on these different methodologies of monetizing the videos. So we have a lot of fun. One of the best ways to reach us is just to go to our free Facebook group, and that's at videochallengegroup.com. And we have a lot of exciting things coming up over the next few weeks, including a 30 videos in 30 days challenge, and including a YouTuber's Masterclass, where Nate Woodbury, who is just a YouTube genius and has helped several people create seven-figure businesses using YouTube, is going to be teaching us a masterclass next week, and it's free. And you can get that to there by going to youtubersmasterclass.com.
Okay, well, hey, while you were saying that, I just typed in the link that they can use here, videochallengegroup.com. Gina, do I have that spelled right?
You sure do.
Yeah. So, by the way, this is one of the features of Restream. If you get an idea and you go, hey, I want to put that on there, you can't do that in Zoom, by the way. At least not with the current. Maybe in the future they'll do it sometime. But right now with Restream, we can do this. People see that and they go, hey, that's where we got to go. So bounce over there and you can get information. But we're talking about Podfest Global that's going on right now. And Podfest Global is the largest in the world. Matter of fact, they just broke our own world record from Guinness Book of World Records from last year. Now over 5,000 people attending this particular podcast convention. And we're getting some good information. I just shared what Anya Rosina said from Restream, the importance of live versus recorded. I think there's a place for both, but I now kind of lean toward doing more live communication. It's easier to do. You don't have the editing afterwards necessarily. Although I am thinking about something. Gene, I'd like your opinion on this. You helped me on this too. You've helped me in so many things. One of the things I've done is when you go into a live, your thumbnail that remains later is just the same thumbnail, whatever you put up there, or it might be a picture of the two of you. But it would not be unreasonable, and it can be done, of course, to go back into, say, YouTube or wherever and change your thumbnail. And I'm thinking that might be a good idea. Your thoughts on that, Gina?
I think that's very important, because after the event is broadcast, people are determining whether they're going to watch or not. And a good thumbnail, as we know, is very critical for YouTube. It's also important for Facebook and for LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're looking at that way. What you're doing is you're just saying, here is something we did in the past. It was real good, and it gave us the ability to get a lot done and to see it and go from there. Gina, we seem to have lost you. Oh, there. Are you back now?
Yes, had a little coughing spell.
Oh, okay, good. Well, thank you. That's all right. And nice that we can do that on Restream. It lets us take that out of there, and it lets us take care of it. Another thing I wanted to share that I heard yesterday, really good. And by the way, you can get the recordings of this still. If you go over to podfestglobal.online, you can do that. Sign up for a ticket, and at a certain level, you can get the recordings. You'll see there's one, but let's let you know you can go in there, and if you sign up for a ticket, it's $49. You can still get the $49 ticket for free if you use the code Terry Loves Speaking. Terry Loves Speaking. Use that as a code. When you buy your ticket, you'll see there's a ticket promo code to punch in, and then you hit apply, and it applies it. But I do want to mention Mark Guberte talked yesterday about some incredible possibility. I've heard him before. He's really good, and that's MarcGuberti. Mark, if you're watching this, I hope I help pronounce your name correctly. If I didn't, please let me know. But he talked about using Facebook Live is really good for building your podcast, because you can use Facebook Live. There's the energy of the moment. People see that, and then you can direct them over there. Also, going into Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and monitoring it over a period of time. Don't just do it one time, but notice what's happening, get a feel for the group, comment, make positive contributions, and that can help build your podcast as you just say, hey, here's an answer to it, here's an answer to it, and you're not overtly talking about it, but just mentioning your group, or if someone asks for it, you could do it in the right professional way. He also talked about hosting guests as another way to build, and then you reciprocate. You're on their podcast, they're on your podcast, and you help each other. They promote you, you promote them. He said many other items. I want to go back over the recording, because we're getting those, and be able to check on that and do it. Gina, any comments or reactions on that from you?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I'm a big believer in Facebook groups, and have used those a lot to find people that need help and make suggestions, and have several of my own Facebook groups where people are networking and sharing tips and ideas and questions and getting lots of help, and it's a great place to create community and to be a part of a community. So I certainly like that tip.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And of course, we're doing that in our Facebook group there with Video Rock Stars. And we got another comment here from the amazing Jana Stanfield. Very friendly, helpful group of people helping each other get better. It's one of the things that we've talked about with Video Rock Stars. Yes, you get the content, but I think as good as that or more is the community of people that are there to help. Gina, the way you've structured it is people will come on individually and they make a presentation for just a very short time, a couple of minutes, and then they get really good feedback from people. Always very positive. Even when we're saying, don't do this or don't do that, it's always very positive. And so, Jana, we appreciate your comment on that. I think that's real good to have, and nice to have that. And also, we had another comment here stopping by from our friend Laura Lee Shabero, and great hair. And she is a CMP, a certified meeting professional. She really knows this stuff. And it's nice to see you too, Laura Lee. Hope you're doing well these days. And lots going on here. And I want to put in a couple more things here. Really good. There's so much content. The way they structure, I love what Chris Krimitsos and Andrew Weiss have done as they structured this. They're 30-minute presentations, strictly timed. 30-minute presentations. And everyone that comes on that I have seen has been really good. With content, lots of good jewels, value in there. And I'm writing down notes like crazy. I actually went back and started recording it, and then using my trick that I've shared before, using Google Docs to get a transcript. Use Google Docs and get a transcript of what's going on live as it's happening. And that's been really neat. If you want to question, get information on that, send me a note, terry@terrybrock.com. And you'll see Terry Brock down there in the lower left corner, terry@terrybrock.com. We'll get you through. But a couple others that came through I thought were particularly good. Valentina Kaladina with Castbox. I had heard of Castbox, didn't know that much about it, but they have really good tools to show you what podcasts are doing well, particularly on the Android side. And they're showing also doing interviews. If you have a certain number of subscribers, 1,000, you can use that very well. Another one was Stephen Spence. I had not heard, or excuse me, Stefan Spence, spelled Stephan. He pronounces it Stefan Spence. He's based over in Tel Aviv, Israel. And he talked about things that can really destroy your ranking. Weak content, show notes that are not good. Oh my, I need to work on that. Use SEO. And he talked about using trends.google.com. So some really good things there that are very nice. But those are some of the things that have happened yesterday. And you want to go back and get the recordings. But coming up today, as we're recording this on the 4th of March, Thursday, 2021, Gina, some of the other things are coming, and you have been doing your research on that. Good for you. Share some of the things that you've seen coming up that look like, hey, might be good to know about.
Well, they have basically mini cons, mini conferences within the big conference, which is a really cool thing. You led one last week for Professional Speaking Con, and then when we spoke the other day, we were part of the Pod Tubing Con. So today, the big umbrellas are the Purposeful Productivity Con. That one's going on right now. So how to be more productive, how to get more done. I'm really looking forward to that one.
That
There's
sounds
one
really good just by itself, just the name, how to be more productive. Yes, thank you, please. I can use that.
exactly. And then there's the Self-Publishing Con, which also is going on right now. So if you're putting podcasts out into the world, it's good to repurpose them. So you can repurpose them as videos, you can repurpose them as books. So it's a great way to really expand your legacy and expand your impact on the world by putting your material together into books. And so there's people who are going to be talking about how to do that through self-publishing. There's a bilingual con. And then
Oh, yeah,
there's
there's a lot of bilingual. If I'm going to interrupt for a moment here, lots of people with different languages. I mean, they broadcast and holding the event in German, in Spanish, in Mandarin Chinese, etc. I think that's a really good thing for diversity, for inclusion, bringing in a lot of different people and learning a lot of different ideas.
Yeah. And then there's the Podfesting 201 Con. So this is a little more advanced. So this one's not for beginners. This is a little bit, this is for more advanced podcasters. The Podcasting 201, that starts at 1:30 p.m. And then the Social Media Con also starts at 2:30 p.m. And there'll be all kinds of great content there about how to amplify your message across social media channels. And so it's perfect for people who either have a podcast or are going to be starting a podcast. And it's podcasting is here to stay. It's radio on demand about the topics that you're interested in. And I've been a big believer in it since you turned me on to it years ago, and I've only grown to love it more.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I like the way you say that, when you say it's radio on demand for the topics that you want. I have to agree with Rob Walsh when he talks about it. Radio is not a good analogy for podcasting, except that when you say for the topics that you want. And you get it when you want. And that's the beauty of it. It's on demand. With radio, you got to be there right at the time that they're doing it. And I think that podcasting takes the good of radio and elevates it to the other level of on demand, and it's on specific niche podcast topics that you want. So you might say, gee, we're lawyers on the north side of Boston who love ice cream. And that's a podcast. I don't think there is one like that, but there might be something that niche that you can get. And if there's enough of a market for it, particularly if it might be a topic that is more international, then that's a real good thing. It goes along with Chris Anderson's idea, the long tail. That there's a market of maybe 1,000, 2,000 people around the world on something real tiny. That's a small group, but worldwide, 1,000 or 2,000 people makes a lot of sense. And that's really the benefit of podcasting. My podcast, of course, is Agorapreneurs. And you can find that on your Apple podcast. You can find that on Fine Podcasts, wherever they might be. I'm using Google Podcast now, and we'll be using Castbox and tools like that. So come over there. And on our YouTube channel, it's Agorapreneurs with Terry Brock. And Agora is Agora, the open spaces, and means freedom, living voluntarily, not initiating force and coercion. And preneurs, just like entrepreneurs. So come over and see us sometime. We'd love to have you there. Gina, any final words before you and I skedaddle off to attend Podfest Live today and start taking lots of notes and lots of jaw-dropping, oh my goodness, kind of new ideas?
No, to your point of it's what you're interested in, and even the commercials I'm more interested in when I'm listening to a podcast. I
done right.
have in the past listened a lot to iHeartMedia and different radio shows there, and they do have a lot of commercials and a lot of commercials that have nothing to do with me and I'm not interested in at all. And it's irritating to say the least, but at least on a podcast, if I'm listening to someone that I'm enjoying already, generally their sponsors are going to be directly related to their audience. So I find just the whole podcasting experience to be much more enjoyable than regular radio. And I'm rarely listening to regular radio these days.
Yep, there you go again, Gina, helping me out on that. That's because that really is something I think about. I was listening to local radio here in Orlando and listening to a show that you and I like to listen to occasionally. But I listened, their commercials came and I thought, this is nauseous. They give me like 10 minutes of commercials of stuff that does not relate to me. Not at all. And I think this is a waste of time versus I listen to a podcast that I like and they're talking about areas I go, I might be interested in that someday. Maybe write that down and remember them for long term. And so I think the podcast is really winning out over the terrestrial radio. And I grew up in radio. That's where I learned. I started there when I was a junior in high school, and undergrad degree is radio, TV, and newspaper. So I still love radio, but I think the podcasts are even better. Well, Gina, you and I could keep going on this for a long time, and so we will, but just not right now, today. We'll turn this off, go back for our day and all that. Gina, thank you very much for joining me. It is always a joy and an honor to have you around. Thanks for being there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to turn this off, and Terry's looking under here on how we do this because I'm using my plexi tag or plexicam, excuse me. That's positioning my video right there, which is good, but it hides the banners that we have up here, so we can see what's going on. But we can have fun with that. So, Gina, thanks for joining me, and for you watching this, thank you very much for being with us today. We'll look forward to seeing you again a little bit.